Okay, so let's do our usual warm up first, and then afterwards we're going to focus on the strength training today. So what we're going to do is that we're going to do a couple of what we call compound exercises first. So that will be like, if you want to kind of group that into different categories, we all want to be doing like a pushing movement where we push away from the body. We want to be doing like a pulling movement. And then we want to be doing a hinge movement where we're moving the hips. And then we want to be doing a squat movement, which is bending the knees and the hips together. And then maybe we'll do one balance as well. So those are the kind of five type of compound exercises that we should do. And then afterwards, we might just focus on the individual kind of muscle parts. For example, working on the back of the arm or hips specifically. But that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so let's warm up first. Let's do our usual warm up, just moving all our joints, getting the body temperature up. Okay, so let's try to stand a little bit taller as we usually do, pushing up from the top of our head. Okay, and then kind of relaxing, maybe just rounding, kind of softening your knees, softening your hips a little bit, and kind of round, slouch a little bit as well. Okay, and doing the opposite, try to take a deep breath in, make yourself taller, tighten up the thigh muscle, tighten the hip muscles. And you can also even squeeze your fists a little bit and turn your thumbs out. Okay, so using all the muscles to stand taller. Okay, deep breath in. Okay, and then the opposite where we just soften everything, bend every joint a little bit, and breathing out. Okay, so let's do two more times. So breathing in. Okay, squeeze muscles to get taller. Okay, and then relax all the muscles to get shorter. Okay, and one more time, breathing deep breath in. Okay, and back off. Okay, and let's focus on just the neck. Okay, we're just gonna look down. Okay, and look back up a couple of times. Okay, let's push our head forward and back a couple of times as well. Okay, let's turn our head side to side and just go as slowly as we need to. Okay, maybe tilt your head a little bit sideways. Pause. Okay, and spend just a few seconds on the other side as well. Okay, and let's go on to the shoulders. So let's do a basic shoulder roll, just moving kind of backwards and downwards specifically. Okay, and the same thing, just going forward. Okay, and let's try to give ourselves a hug and then opening up in front. Okay, moving our shoulder blades kind of forward and back. Okay, and let's just do a circle on the side and opposite direction, same idea. Okay, and let's do this in different directions. So going forward, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 circles or 3 seconds out of the way, 3, 2, 1. Okay, lower your hands and try just to reach out towards the side. You might start to feel a stretch in the front of the arm and try to just bring your arm directly to the side. Okay, and we'll try to circle kind of a little bit backwards. 1, 2, 3. Let's try to still reach out on opposite side. Okay, and same thing other direction. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's try going backwards. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a soft fist. Okay, thumbs kind of in. We're just gonna reach back a little bit first. Okay, try not to slouch to do it. Just still stand tall, reaching back. We'll stay here for a little bit. Okay, and then gently see if you can circle behind us a little bit more. So 1, 2, 3, other way. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go inwards. Okay, so this is my right hand going towards my left. Everything else still facing forward. Okay, I'm just trying to squeeze my hand or arm into my body. 1, 2, 3, other way. 3, 2, 1. Okay, same thing on the side. Just feeling kind of a little bit of tension in the chest muscle. Try to squeeze your arm a little bit more into your body. 1, 2, 3, other way. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go upwards. We're gonna do it one hand at a time. Thumbs facing backwards is usually easier. Okay, so reaching upwards first. Okay, and gently and slowly see if you can 1, 2, moving from the shoulders. 3, other way. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and same thing on the other hand. Okay, reaching up first. 1, 2, 3, other way. 3, 2, 1. Okay, shake it out. Okay, we're just going to keep our elbows inside while we push our hands outwards. Okay, and then back inside. Okay, go in a circle. Okay, you can change direction as well. Okay, elbows up. Okay, we're going to reach down and in. Okay, be gentle with this one. Okay, and try to rotate the entire arm as well. So as you reach out, your palms will be facing back, and you just kind of unround yourself. Okay, if you can try to see if you can go backwards. Okay, maybe a little bit more of an unnatural movement. Okay, and then just the wrist. Okay, and then just the fingers moving. Okay, and then just the tips of the fingers moving. Okay, shake it out. Okay, and let's go to the hip and kind of shoulder circle or the hourglass circle. So hips goes one way, the head goes the other way. Okay, all the way around. Okay, so including as you push the hips forward, try to almost lean back a little bit, arch your back a little bit. Okay, and a couple of times in the other direction. Let me let someone in. And let's put our hands on our thigh. And we're practicing the hinge movement where we bend the hips, knees are not completely locked out, but they're not really too bent either. Okay, so feel a stretch in the back of the leg, maybe even back of the calves. Okay, and 3, 4. Okay, and try to keep your spine long. Okay, and 5. Okay, we're going to stay here for a little bit. Okay, we're going to do a couple of movements of the arms. Okay, so we're just going to do just a kind of a reverse fly almost. So you're just trying to bring the arms back, kind of squeezing the shoulder blades together so that don't worry too much about how far back the hand is. Focusing on squeezing the shoulder blades back. Okay, and we'll change the angle a little bit. You can get the hands up on the side, so making like a W shape. Okay, feeling the muscle more on the back of the shoulders as you squeeze back. Okay, maybe just about 3 to 5 times. Okay, and last one, we're going to go overhead. So still maintaining that long spine. Thumbs facing kind of towards the ceiling. We're just trying to reach up. Going just as far as we feel comfortable. Okay, 2 and 3. Okay, and coming back up. Shake everything else again. Okay, let's do the squatting pattern now. So we're going to get our feet a little wider than the hips towards pointing out. We're going to push our butt back, but this time bend the knees. Okay, so it looks something like this. You should feel, if you put your hand right up onto your pelvis, your fingers should be getting squeezed between your thigh and your pelvis. Okay, so push the butt back and also bend the knees at the same time. Feet are flat on the ground. Okay, let's do about 5 to 10 times. Okay, so let's call this number 3, 4. Slowly, you can see if you can go a little bit lower by pushing the butt back more and bend your knees a little more. Okay, maybe just one more time. That should be about 6. Okay, and let's try to have one leg forward, one leg back. Holding something will be easier. Winding your legs will be easier. Okay, so 1 for forward, 1 for back. Okay, first thing, see if you can just get your heels, your back heel a little bit closer to the ground, and you might feel a stretch in the back of your heels or the back of your calves. Okay, maybe a little bit of a stretch in the front of the hips as well. Okay, and next we're just trying to push the hips a little forward, feeling more of the stretch in the front of the hips. Okay, maybe just about 5 times. Okay, when you're ready, you can turn around. Okay, and we can work on the same thing on the other side. Okay, so first thing, see if you can get your heels, your back heel a little closer to the ground. Toes are kind of pointing forward. Feet slightly wide apart for balance. Okay, so just go up and down on the heel first. Okay, and second part, see if you can push the hips forward, kind of forward and back a few times. Okay, maintaining the same shape of the spine so we're not over arching it back. Okay, just focusing on the stretch in the front. Okay, and let's stretch the inside of the hips. So feet a little wider than before. Toes probably pointing out a little more. Okay, still pushing the butt back, but this time bending only one knee. Your weight is still kind of even throughout your foot. Okay, so still push your butt back and feel a stretch in the inside of your thigh. Okay, and almost see if you can reach towards that foot, the foot that you're moving towards. So you should feel a little bit of rotation of your upper body as you try to reach towards the foot or the ground. Okay, but make sure your back is nice and tall. Okay, let's do maybe 2 more times. 2, okay, and 1. Okay, make ourselves back to the center. Okay, and just bend the knees. Okay, and let's just kind of lift the leg up, test our balance a little bit. Feel free to hold on to something. Okay, see if you can rotate from the hip by sweeping back and forth. Okay, engage the muscles in the front and back of the thigh a little bit more by just kicking the leg forward and back. Okay, and finally see if you can draw a circle with our foot. Okay, and try to make a round circle as well. So all the way, not just other times we might do just inwards. See if you can also push it outwards. Excuse me. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. So once again, it might be easier if you hold on to something. Okay, let's do front to back first. Okay, and then side to side. Okay, and then see if you can draw a circle. Okay, while keeping the knee in the same place. So you should feel a little bit of movement in the hips. Okay, and let me let someone in. Okay, and lastly, let's move the ankles. Let's see if we can circle while standing on one foot. Okay, and same thing on the other leg. Okay, and lastly, let's move our toes by scratching the floor, lifting them off the floor, trying to spread them out. Okay, if you can, see if you can keep everything but your big toe on the ground. So try to just lift the big toe up. Okay, and then try to keep the big toe on the ground and try to lift the rest of your toes. Okay, and shake everything out. Okay, so let's grab our band. Okay, so once again, we're gonna go through kind of the 5 major compound movements we should do, or major exercise we do. So let's start with the hinge again. So might be easier if you have a chair. Mind. Okay, so we're gonna do the deadlift exercise, which is the one where you pretend you're picking something off the ground. If you're using, you can do this with a band. You can do this with a weight. If you're using a band, put the middle of the band underneath your feet. Feet is roughly kind of hip width apart. Okay, and we're just going to stand up with it. Okay, so as we did in the warm-up, you're going to push your butt back. Your knees are not completely locked out, but they're not bent, really too bent either. Okay, so just a soft knee. Okay, and you're going to push your butt back. Okay, as you reach your limit of your flexibility, see if you can just shorten the band a little bit. Okay, and you're just going to stand back up with it, and you're not really using your arms too much. Okay, so you just think of pushing your hips back while keeping your back nice and straight. Okay, and then you're trying to almost push the hips forward, and you automatically stand up with the band. Okay, so let's do about 15 times. Okay, so let's corners number 1. Okay, and up. Okay, so you can really breathe in during the easier part. Okay, and breathe out when we're using our strength. So breathing out here. Okay, breathe in. Okay, breathe out. Okay, and in. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you don't really have to lift with the arms too much. 8. If you can lift it with the arms, see if you can even grab a little bit lower. 9, 10. You should feel like in the back of the thigh, back of the butt. 11, 12, 13, 14, okay, and 15. Okay, and you can sit back down afterwards. Okay, so once again, back of the thigh, back of the hip. Maybe a little bit of tension in your back. So your hands should be roughly just your hands getting tight, just from gripping the band or gripping the weight. But you shouldn't be really be moving the weight of the band with the elbows. Okay, so let's do an upper body. So we're rotating between upper and lower body, just to give ourselves a little bit of a break. So this one, you're just gonna hook the band in the middle of the foot. You might need to sit a little closer to the edge so that your foot's not dangling in the air. So just a little bit more force where your heel touches. Okay, first thing first, let's see if you can straighten out the back. Okay, you're gonna keep your elbows straight for this one. Okay, you can focus on squeezing the shoulders back. Okay, and while in the meantime, try to push the fists back as well. It doesn't have to be too far, maybe just a little bit past your hips. Okay, and then coming back forward. Okay, so once again, it's not just the hands going back, which makes your back kind of ramp. You're also squeezing the shoulders back while keeping the arms straight and pushing the fists back as well. Okay, so let's aim for 15 times as well. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's a few in the kind of middle of the back between the shoulder blades, back of the shoulders, a little bit of back of the arm, if you're able to keep your arms really straight. I think we're at 7, 8, probably a little bit top of the shoulders as well. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, and shaking things out. Okay, so let's repeat these two again first. Okay, so we're back to the hinge pattern. Okay, sitting on the middle of the band. If you're using a dumbbell, so I'm just going to switch to using a dumbbell just to demonstrate for people that are using dumbbells. So if you're using a dumbbell, it probably is easier if you're standing up instead of sitting down to start with. Okay, and it's pretty much the same thing. You're still keeping the weight. Important thing on the dumbbells is that just keep the weight close to your body. If it's far, it's actually much harder on the back. Okay, so when you're lifting something or lowering something, keep the weight close to your body. So you're almost sliding it down your leg. Okay, keeping it back straight. Okay, and then standing back up with it. Okay, so if you're using a band, just do it exactly like we did before. I'm just going to demonstrate with the dumbbells just for people who are using a dumbbell. Okay, so let's aim for about 15 times again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So even if you're getting low tight, we want to keep your back straight. 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, give me a second to Put my dumbbells back. And maybe shake out the grip a little bit. Okay. And then we're just going to go back once again to the pulling one. Same thing as before. Sit close to the edge of the chair so that your heel can touch the ground. Okay, back straight and focus on squeezing your shoulder blades back. The hands can kind of just go along for the ride. Okay, and maybe just pause a little bit at the end just to make our muscles work a little longer. Okay, so I think we've done about 3 so far. So let's call this number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try to keep the elbows straight as well. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, okay, and last one, and 15. Shake everything out again, including our grip. Okay, so that was the 2 that we consider as pulling movements. So hinge is a pulling movement for the lower body, and then this one is the pulling movement for the back, for the upper body rather. Okay, so now let's go into the pushing movements. Okay, so we're still going to stand in the middle of the band, okay, but this time widen your feet a little bit more. Okay, so your feet should be a little bit wider than the hips. Toes can be pointed out slightly. Okay, oops. Just make sure my band is not sliding out. Okay, and we're just going to lean forward a little bit and maybe grab a little bit lower in the band. Okay, so it should be a little bit of tension already. Okay, so to stand up from this position, you probably want to be using this little bit of rocking motion, or be easier with rocking motion. So usually kind of just rock a few times where you feel like your weight is going onto your feet. Okay, and when you're ready, just rock and then stand up. So using a little bit of momentum to help ourselves get up. Okay, and what we're going to do is similar to before, we're still pushing our butt back, but bend the knees. Your knees should be almost touching the band, so it should be caving in like this. The band should be, your knees should be touching the band almost. Okay, all the way down, okay, and all the way back up. Okay, so compared to before, we are using more the front of the leg because we're bending the knee. Okay, and coming back up. Okay, from this angle, looks something like this. My back doesn't change shape. Okay, so let's call this one number 4. So still breathing in as we go down. Okay, breathing out as we stand back up. Okay, so let's call this 5. Okay, your upper body should be a little bit more upright compared to before as well. So 6, 7, 8. So it should definitely feel more on the front of the thigh. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And let's take a break once again. Shake everything out. Okay, so that is called a squat. You can just think of that as a sit to stand. Next one, let's do the pushing. So with the upper body, so let's do a wall push-up. So we did this one more during the bone health series. So that uses the shoulders, chest, back and arm. but it also has weight bearing. You also are weight bearing through the hands, so that can help to strengthen the bones in the wrist as well. Okay, so you can use a wall. You can use like a sturdy piece of furniture, like a desk, anything that you can kind of lean your weight against. So for the wall, you're just gonna have your hands maybe a little bit wider than your shoulders. If your wrists are really tight, you get your hands a little bit high up so that you're not kind of flexing the wrist too much or as much. And you just want to be standing a little, stand with your feet a little further back so that you feel some of your weight on your arms already. And what you're gonna do is gonna keep everything still while you kind of lower yourself there and then coming back up. Okay, I'm gonna change angle so it's easier to see. But the important thing is you're not kind of moving your butt back and forth so much. It should be kind of form, you should be a straight line from your heels to your hips to your shoulders. Okay, so your body stays still. It's just your elbows and your shoulder that's moving. Okay, and then you're just moving as one unit up and down. Okay, so let's aim for about 10 to 15 for this one, depending on how hard you're doing it. So the wall is usually manageable for people, so maybe aim for 15. If you're doing a little lower, just do as much as you're able to. Okay, so let's call this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So probably shoulders getting a little tight, back of the arms getting a little tight. 13, 14. Okay, maybe a little bit of tension in the chest as well. And 15. Maybe a little bit of tension in the front of the trunk as well, because it's kind of stabilizing your body, so it's not kind of wiggling back and forth. So that'll be a pushing movement with the upper arm. Okay, so let's repeat these two. So once again, the squat and then the push-up. Okay, if you're using a dumbbell or any sort of weight, this one is easier. The squatting can be simple, so you can either, you can switch back to, let's switch back this first. So if you're holding a dumbbell, 2 ways to go about it. You can either just hold the weight on the side of your body, okay, and you're just squatting. I don't like it as much because it kind of bangs into my knees a little bit. So what I prefer instead is to do what we call a goblet squat. So let me just get the weight up first. So I like to just hold a dumbbell or any sort of weight in front of my chest. Okay, and I'm just squatting up and down like this. Okay, or even have it forward, so it's not banging into the side of my knees. Okay, so either way works. Okay, so you can still do the same thing with the band. Okay, I'm just going to demonstrate the dumbbells. Okay, so still pushing the butt back, still bend the knees. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have it up in the chest, it's actually a little harder. 9. The upper body has to work a little harder if you're holding it up. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, let me put this back. And let's go back to the pushing one. So once again, you start off on the wall, probably for a lot of people, like a kitchen countertop or like a desk will probably be better. If you can't move it, go all the way down, feel free to just go maybe a quarter way. So just bend your elbows a little bit and then come back up. Okay, so straighten your body out first. And then let's do kind of 10 to 15 times. 1, okay, control on the way down. You can pause a little bit at the bottom if you want to, okay, and coming back up. Okay, so let's call this number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So once again, probably back of the arm, shoulders, maybe a little bit in the chest. So last major thing we should work on most of the time is just the balance. Pretty much you're working the muscle at the side of the hip. Okay, so let's do the clock tap today. So maybe still have something you can hold on to. And I'm just standing with the opposite hand and leg. So if I'm holding the chair in my left hand, or at least hovering my hand over my left hand, and I'm lifting my right leg. Okay, so let's try standing kind of just on one foot first. Okay, if you find that it's very hard to balance, then use a little bit more of your hands. So it doesn't mean kind of leaning on it. It could be just fingers touching, or maybe instead of your whole hand, maybe just kind of 2 fingers or 3 fingers touching, so you can adjust. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just going to be tapping, trying to reach forward, okay, tapping the floor, okay, and then coming back, okay, while using as little of our hands as we can. Okay, and also try to stand tall as well, so don't kind of be in this kind of collapsed position. Okay, see if we can get ourselves taller like we did in the beginning of warm-up. Okay, and try to just reach out in different directions. So kind of pointing, if this is 12 o'clock, maybe you're going to reach out to like 1 o'clock. Okay, come back. Okay, reaching out directly to the side. Okay, and try to maybe reach a little further. And coming back to center while maintaining our balance. Okay, going back. I'm going diagonally back. Okay, and back to center. Okay, and then backwards. Okay, if you want, you can even reach kind of back and across the body. Okay, and coming back up. This one will be a little harder. You can try the same kind of forward as well. Okay, so primarily you should feel the side of the hip of the standing leg that is getting a little tight. Okay, so let's do one more for this leg. So if you need to, shake it out a little bit, but let's do one more clock. So let's go from behind first. So maybe reach back and across. Okay, straight back. Diagonally back. Okay, if you notice my front knee, I'm still trying to keep alignment, so the hip is still over the knee and the knee is still over the foot. Okay, and reaching towards the side. Okay, diagonally forward. Okay, straight forward. Move a little bit inside. And relax. And switch sides. Okay, so same idea. Find how much support you need to stay standing, maybe with a little bit of a challenge. Okay, so let's go from the front again to the back, and then we're going to go from back to the front. Okay, so maybe just reaching slightly in front and across. pushing forward. Okay, diagonally forward. Okay, feel free to move your body weight, its weight around, upper body around to maintain your balance. Okay, 3. You can also play around a little bit too as well. So see if does it make it easier if you're leaning in the opposite direction? How does it feel different if we're not moving at all? So the more ways they can move, that's actually better as well. It means that we can adapt to more situations. So in situations where we can move the upper body, then you might find it's easier to move back. In situations where we cannot, you can still kind of move and maintain a balance. So just kind of play around with different kind of orientation of the body. So let's go back first. So back. Okay, you can change the environments a little bit by maybe kind of shutting one eye or closing one eye, okay, which can make it much harder for most people. You can try, instead of looking straight forward, try looking maybe to your left or to your right, okay, and see how that makes a difference, okay, because we usually practice moving, having a vision going forward. We can be, I guess, out of practice if we're looking any other way. Okay, so just try doing this in different ways. Okay, and shake everything out. Okay, so let's do one more for the hip. So balance-wise, we can do this for compound exercise first because we're using the entire body. So now let's focus on just the muscle that controls that. So let's work on the side of the hip a little bit more. So let's take a break from standing. I'm going to sit down. So this one, I think most of you here should be familiar with this one. So this is the one where you cross the band or loop the band around the leg, maybe leaving about a fist kind of width distance between your knees. Foot can be a little bit, at least knee distance apart, maybe a little bit wider as well. Okay, and just going to stay tall. Push your knees apart while you lean forward, just about a little bit. Okay, and then coming back in. Let's see if you can pause a little bit on the side. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, and see if you can, instead of completely relaxing, still keep that kind of fist width distance. So don't let your muscle completely relax. Okay, so let's call this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so it's kind of feel like it's the same muscle that we're working on. So when we're standing, it's the side of the hip. When we're pushing the knees apart, it's also kind of side of the hip. But for this one, we can focus on just using this one, whereas the standing one, there are lots of different muscles kind of working together to maintain a balance. So the first one, usually we call that compound meaning multiple muscles. Second one, we can call this accessory or isolation, where we just focus on one muscle at a time. Okay, so both are important. First one, maybe more coordination involved, which is important. Second one, more focused on the strength of the muscle that's required for kind of balance. Okay, so let's shake it off a little bit, and let's just do these two one more time. Okay, so we'll still work on kind of 2 balance exercise in a sense, one with more coordination, one more for the strength. Okay, so same thing as before. Okay, still standing on one leg, use as little support as you need with your arms, and just try to tap into different direction. Okay, at this time, let's try the opposite direction. So let's try tapping forward, okay, and tapping back. Okay, you can play around the tempo a little bit. So maybe we can try a little bit faster than before. Okay, so be able to maintain balance while we're moving at different speed. Okay, let's try diagonally forward and then kind of back and across the body. So we kind of diagonally forward. Okay, and other way. Okay, so this one might be a little harder. Okay, because we're kind of moving a little bit further away from the body, side to side. Okay, and let's go side to side. Actually, side to side now. So I'm reaching this way. Okay, and maybe reaching a little bit inwards. Okay, and go in a pace that we are comfortable with. Okay, but still with a little bit of a challenge. Okay, shake it out, and that's the sides. It also helps maybe if you're not wearing shoes, or even if you're wearing shoes, that you almost spread your toes apart a little bit. So the wider our what we call base of support, the more stable we are. So if you imagine we're standing with your feet together, we're less stable compared to if we're standing wider apart. Same with the foot. If you can get your feet a little wider by spreading your toes, that can actually make yourself a little bit more stable as well. Okay, so find the point where you can still balance with as little support as you need. Okay, and let's try forward and back again. Okay, once again, you can play around with different conditions. So for example, if you look where you're moving towards, that can change with how the exercise feels. Our body tends to follow our eyes. So that can actually make it more challenging. Okay, and then let's go diagonally forward. Okay, and then diagonally back. So not as good on my right foot. Okay, and then let's go outside and inside. Okay, all the meantime, I'm still trying to have good alignment on my standing leg. Yeah, and shake everything out. Okay, last set of exercise we're doing, same one as before. So just focusing on the muscle part without having to worry all about the coordination. Let's do the, I call it the seated clamshell. So just pushing these apart. So fist width apart, or it's maybe hip width apart. Okay, spine tall. Push your knees out as you push your knees out. Okay, and don't completely relax in between. 2. Pause a little bit at the end. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, sometimes also pay attention in which leg are you pushing more with. Sometimes we're stronger on one side, so we rely on that side a little more. So I could feel my right side not pushing out as much. So I'm going to try to see if I can focus my attention on that. And I think that was 15. Okay, and shake everything out. Okay, so let's do a quick body scan. Okay, see where you're still tense at. And if you're tense in those areas, you can just kind of shake out the tension. You can even use your hands to help you shake out the muscles a little bit. Okay, let's take a couple of deep breaths in. So shoulders relaxed usually. Okay, breathing into our belly area. Okay, feeling our lungs like a balloon. Okay, so I think that's all the time we have for today. So good job, everyone. See everyone next time where we're going back to the mobility stuff for next week. Okay, let's have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye. No problem. Bye-bye.